Well, CM Punk came back to WWE. That's a thing that happened, and I have a lot to talk about because of said major event. First of all, I want to apologize for the lack of video production over the last couple of weeks. I've been busy getting acclimated to my new job and doing all the onboarding and all that other fun stuff, plus all my other responsibilities being a husband and a father, kind of got in the way of making videos. But I'm going to try and get back to the weekly video production schedule that I want to adhere to, so here's hoping that that happens. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I think obviously the big thing to talk about is CM Punk. There were a few things I wanted to do with this video because I've fallen behind on a bunch of things like AEW. There's been some Godzilla-related updates that I want to talk about, but I think I can push the Godzilla stuff to next week since I'm seeing Godzilla -1 this weekend. I'm seeing it on Saturday. And I figured, just save all the Godzilla stuff for next week. That'll be my next video. And so there's a lot to talk about, a lot to go over, but I think CM Punk kind of needs to be the major focus of this video. So, yeah, with all that said, let's get started. I will begin by saying that I did not watch Survivor Series, mainly because I had no interest in the War Games matches. I had no interest in the card or anything, and I figured if CM Punk returns, as has been heavily rumored, if that happens, I'll catch the 15-minute clip online because that'll leak like nobody's business. So there you go. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. I didn't watch the show, but the clip of CM Punk was all over the place right after the show was over, so I was able to watch that. And I got pretty much anything that was a major headline from Survivor Series, I pretty much got from that clip, except for, Randy Orton came back, which is cool, but nobody seemed to care once CM Punk came out. R-Truth came back, which I wasn't even fully aware he was gone, and I'd been watching WWE. I was like, oh yeah, he has been around for a while, but in any case, I didn't care about the War Games matches. I'm not a fan of the way WWE does War Games, where it's this very sanitized PG weapons fight. It kind of looks like every other multi-man brawl that WWE does. I don't like that they do 2 War Games on one show. I don't like the over-gimmicking of things. I don't like doing 2 Elimination Chambers. I don't like doing 2 Money in the Banks. I don't like doing 2 Royal Rumbles. I don't like doing 4 or 5 Hell in the Cells or whatever it is they do. I don't think they've ever done more than 3 on that card, but, that doing 3 Hell in the Cells, that's probably too many. And not a fan of it. Not a fan of it. My idea is, look at Survivor Series. Can't one match be the War Games match, and can't the other match be a traditional Survivor Series elimination match? Just kind of vary it up, make it different. I don't know. Must you do 2 War Games? And I don't care which one. It's like the men or the women. And just pick one. I don't care. It's just don't do the same gimmick match more than one time on one show. That's overkill. I wasn't a fan of it when TNA did it with Lockdown, and I'm not a fan of it now. Almost, God, we're getting close to 20 years since that show. That's a video worth discussing all its own. How Lockdown just ruined everything and ruined the way wrestling companies do pay-per-views. But in any case. But CM Punk did return and set the world on fire, set the wrestling world on fire. Everybody's making fun of AEW for letting this happen and all sorts of other things. And it's, it's a very tough situation all around because we don't know exactly what happened in AEW and why all the situations with Punk, happened the way they did. What exactly led into the original, the brawl out situation where Punk went completely insane at the media scrum and then got into a fight with the Elite as the Elite stormed into the locker room and got into a fight with him? And what led to that? What was the whole series of events that led to that? Some people say it was started with the Hangman promo going off script and going into business for himself. Some say it had been brewing for a long time as Punk butt heads with the Elite. Punk strikes me as the type of guy that is not the easiest person in the world to get along with. And if he's constantly feeling disrespected or being poked and prodded, eventually he's going to snap and let them have it. So I don't know how much the Elite is to blame for that. I don't know how much Tony Khan is to blame for that. But whatever happened, it happened. And again, to be a fly on the wall in some of those conversations that happened before the brawl out, but it really left a bad mark on AEW when all that went down and All Out, and kind of screwed over whatever their major plans were for MJF, because he was supposed to win the title from Punk, clearly, and then none of that happened. And then they bring Punk back, give him his own show, because Collision was basically the CM Punk show. And then he gets into another kerfluffle with Jack Perry that almost ruins the biggest show in AEW history, left a major sour taste on what I felt was a great show. Nobody was talking about that great show by the time it was over, because the entire online discourse was about CM Punk and Jungle Boy Jack Perry and all of that nonsense that went on over a spot with glass and the whole Crimea River thing. It was unbelievable. And again, it's like, was Jack Perry the instigator in all of that, or was Punk like just that easy to provoke, and it just led to a really bad situation? And then because Punk got let go, that ruined the next week, which it was stupid that AEW was doing 2 pay-per-views, back-to-back weeks, but I mean, that was supposed to be like their weekend in Chicago with CM Punk as the big star, and they had to let him go, and basically ruined all of that. So it really left a huge black eye on AEW as a company, their management, and how the company's overall professionalism. It looked like a complete shit show. And you look at Punk's run in AEW, it's like he came in as the big conquering hero, the returning superstar. It kind of mirrored Hulk Hogan going to WCW in a way, where Hogan was gone for a year, left WWF, was gone after King of the Ring 93 and a few other house shows he did with Yokozuna, but for the most part, Hogan was gone. And then all of a sudden, he shows up in another wrestling show, and that was a huge moment that kind of added credibility to WCW and got a lot of attention, especially the Bash of the Beach match with Ric Flair, the main event that many people felt should have been the main event to WrestleMania 8. And it was like, oh my goodness, we got something big going here. But creatively, it took him a while to kind of catch up to having a Hulk Hogan to kind of add credibility to the show, because it kind of became like a low-rent cartoon with the Dungeon of Doom and all that other stuff. But once they got the NWO storyline, then they were off to the races, and everything was just peaches and cream until WCW got too big for its own good and made its own booking mistakes that downgraded everything. And the wrestlers were, the top wrestlers, Hogan included, obviously, were kind of running the asylum, and then everything just kind of fell apart and imploded. And I feel like we kind of got like a Hulk Hogan and WCW speed run from Punk, but no NWO. We didn't get outside of the feud with MJF, we didn't really get anything all that great out of Punk outside of the initial debut. And then all the behind the scenes nonsense spilled over into the on-screen product and to the online discourse. And then he was gone. And it's like, well, gee, that was a complete failure of a run. Didn't help that Punk got hurt twice. That also didn't help things either. So the whole thing, it felt like, like I said, it felt like a Hulk Hogan and WCW speed run without the NWO. We didn't get any of the great stuff. We just got a bunch of drama and a bunch of nonsense where nobody benefited. And poor MJF, he got left holding the bag, because he was supposed to win the title from Punk, which didn't happen. And then when Punk came back, they were supposed to do an angle where Punk's the real world champion. And it's like, okay, so we've got to get Punk versus MJF, who's the true world champion. And then that didn't happen. So it's just, man, what a horrible, horrible situation for AEW. And they just, you see all this go down, and it's like, man, they've got nothing but egg on their face right now. And it's hard, because, when you lose momentum and you get a serious bad situation like this, it does something to your credibility, and it is very, very hard, if not impossible, to get that momentum and that credibility back. It's very hard to do that. And I'll be honest, creatively right now, they're not exactly setting the world on fire, because like I've said a million times, they have too many shows, they have too many titles. They're creating another title with this stupid, G1 Climax tournament that they're doing, or knockoff of the G1 Climax, which is just more matches, more action for the sake of action, and all it does is create another championship that they don't need. And it's just like, ugh, I don't care. And it's not that they don't have good ideas for stories. Like the Devil storyline is legitimately intriguing, although that's lost a lot of its intrigue, because a lot of people thought maybe maybe, just maybe, Punk is the devil. He's the AEW devil, and he's going to get that feud with MJF. Nope, that's not happening. It's like, okay, well, now that it's not Punk, who the heck else could it be? It's got to be either MJF or Adam Cole, because nothing else really makes sense. Maybe Britt Baker, but I heard Britt Baker suggested as a candidate for the devil, and it's like, okay, they could do that, but what match do you get out of that? Like, MJF can't wrestle Britt Baker, so, like, what would the point of that be? I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things where you just kind of like, AEW looks really bad right now. That's all I'm going to say. AEW looks really bad. And as for WWE, they got this huge shot in the arm with CM Punk and all the other stars that they brought in and all the other situations going on. Orton came back. You've got Cody as the top babyface really right now. Actually, the funny thing, one of the things that I noticed about the War Games match, and it tells you a lot about this World Heavyweight Championship that they've created for Seth to hold. You got a 5-man War Games team. You've got Cody Rhodes, who's essentially the top face in WWE. You've got Jey Uso, who's kind of the new hotness that's teaming up with Cody, very over in his own right. You got Randy Orton, who's a returning hero and a favorite, and people are excited about having him back. You've got Sami Zayn, who's one of the most over baby faces on the show. And then you've got Seth, who's the World Heavyweight Champion. I think of that fivesome, Seth might be the least important one out of that 5, and he's the World Heavyweight Champion. So that kind of tells you how important that World Heavyweight title is when he's like the least important, the least intriguing out of that fivesome. And, a lot of talk was given to Seth Rollins' reaction to CM Punk in the video that was caught where he was visibly upset and having to be restrained and everything. And a lot of people are like, is this a work? Is it a shoot? Yada, 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 yada. I'm going to err on the side of either it's a work and Seth planned it beforehand, or Seth didn't know that Punk was coming out but saw a golden opportunity to create intrigue and reacted the way he did, knowing that he had done the previous interview where he called Punk a cancer and didn't want him back and everything. So I think Seth saw an opportunity to make some money and get some headlines, and that's what he did. So it's kind of a shoot work, basically. I mean, if Punk gets into another backstage kerfluffle with Seth Rollins, I mean, you just throw your hands up and go, oh my God, this guy, it's him. He's the problem. Like, he's got to be the problem, because it seems like drama and, breakdowns in communication and public outbursts just kind of follow him wherever he goes. It happened in WWE because he got frustrated to the point where he stormed off and quit, and then months later did that podcast where he just aired all of his grievances and let the world know what was going on. And then eventually he had a falling out with his friend who hosted the podcast for him in Colt Cabana. So it's just like, man, what is... drama does seem to follow him wherever he goes. And I've talked about this with that soccer player, what's her name, Hope Solo, where she seemed to have like problems with teammates and problems everywhere she went. And after a while, you got to start thinking, it's like, maybe she's the problem, because it seems like drama follows her wherever she goes. And I kind of feel the same way about Punk. But in WWE, I think there's a lot more structure to WWE. I think he's going to be more incentivized to kind of fly straight and keep his nose clean and not fly off the handle and act crazy. And I think this time around, he's older, he's more of a legend now, and they'll be able to kind of give him what he wants without sacrificing too much. He'll probably be put on the part-timer schedule. I can't imagine he'll be wrestling every week. It's going to be bizarre to see him on Raw tonight with a live mic. What is he going to say? What is he going to do? I don't know. But it's crazy to think about. And again, another mirror to Hulk Hogan. Hogan, between runs in the WWF, he was gone for 9 years and had the WCW run in between. Well, Punk was gone for 9 years between the last time he was in WWE and today, over 9 years. So it's like, man, some weird parallels here. It's just, we didn't get an NWO out of it. We didn't get anything great out of it. It was just a complete... It started off exciting and then became a complete and utter shit show. And what a shame. I mean, it was something that was very exciting for AEW, and all it did was result in AEW having egg on their face and WWE to score a major coup over them that they'll probably be able to capitalize on more than AEW would have because of the management situation. It's like they'll probably give Punk a part-time schedule, some big paydays, some big matches here and there. I imagine it'll probably be him and Seth at WrestleMania, assuming I'm correct about Seth's reaction. That's him trying to generate interest for a match that's upcoming. But we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think Punk will dethrone Roman. That's not going to happen. I would think not. That would be foolish if it did. You give Roman, over 3 years as champion, over 1,000 days. You sacrifice all the top baby faces to make that happen, and then Punk just comes out of nowhere and beats Roman for both belts. That's not going to happen. I think that would be a huge, huge mistake. But and a complete waste of Roman's reign. It's like it's got to be either Cody or LA Knight or somebody like that. Somebody that feels more appropriate for that position. But that's my take on the matter. But there's a lot of let's wait and see. Again, Raw tonight is going to be a lot more interesting than it would have been otherwise. I've actually been waning on WWE the last few months because it just feels like I'm watching the same episode over and over again. I'm sick of the Bloodline. I'm sick of Judgment Day. I'm kind of tired of their main stories. I'm like, man, they need a shot in the arm, and this is their shot in the arm. They've got CM Punk and they've got Randy Orton back, so it gives them a lot more possibilities and intriguing situations down the road. Like I said, there's the match with Seth. They could do Punk versus Roman if they want to. They could do LA Knight versus Punk in a battle of the mics. They could potentially do that. They could do some kind of situation that plays off of how Punk left the company in the first place and kind of left WWE holding the bag. Maybe they could do Punk versus Orton. Maybe they could do Punk versus Cody and all sorts of other things. Although that would be funny. The biggest AEW match of all time would be Cody versus Punk in a WWE ring. It's just, man, AEW looks bad right now. So, there's a lot of let's wait and see with Punk, and that's kind of where I am right now. Let's wait and see. They've got our attention right now, but I've also seen Punk, he went to UFC, generated some interest, total failure there. He went to AEW, generated a lot of interest, failure. I would call that run a complete failure. So this is kind of his last chance to kind of win, kind of make the fans happy and end his career on a high note. So again, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Other things going on in professional wrestling, I've kind of already crapped on AEW enough, so I don't have too much to say about that. I have not had a chance to talk about TNA, the return of TNA. Impact Wrestling is rebranding as TNA Wrestling starting in January with the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. I did watch Bound for Glory. I thought it was it was a solid pay-per-view, not great, didn't set the world on fire. I thought having two face versus face title matches was a little weak. But that announcement intrigued me. And I was like, okay, they're rebranding as TNA again. Is that going to mean anything? I don't know. It could be just a name. And it's just going to be the same old Impact Wrestling, which is not terrible. It's just kind of a small-scale wrestling show that's fun to watch occasionally, and nothing really grand or spectacular about it. I don't know what it's going to do for the company moving forward, but hey, it's something to talk about. And it's weird to me that there's actually TNA nostalgia out there now. It's like, man, because I was online at the time when TNA was at its peak, and it was the laughing stock of the online wrestling community. People mocked TNA mercilessly all the time, and now it's like you have people going I remember TNA finally, and there's nostalgic for TNA. It's kind of funny how all that worked out. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And I'm going to watch Hard to Kill just to kind of get an idea of what they're going for and what it's going to look like. But we'll see how it all goes down. But I think that's enough. I think I've talked about all I want to talk about in this video. You will see more videos from me in the near future. Again, I apologize for being gone the last couple of weeks, but things got a little hectic and a little crazy in the personal life, but I'm back now, and you'll be seeing a lot more of me. So, thank you again, everybody, for watching. If you want to keep up with me, you can follow me on Twitter at PatrickGBook. Link is in the description. And, of course, be sure to buy Godzilla the Monster Fight Record Volumes 1 and 2, both available at Amazon, no longer available at Barnes & Noble, at least for now, because I ran into some issues with Barnes & Noble, and the wrong manuscript got uploaded, so I had to take it down off the Barnes & Noble store, but I'm going to try again and get it up there. But for right now, it is on Amazon. Those links are in the description down below. But that is all I have for you now. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and I will see you all later.